So 24 hours ago, I felt fine. Great, actually. I was motivated. I had a list of what I was going to do for the day. I had already crushed my workouts. It's safe to say I was in a pretty good mood. Then something happened. So I was halfway through the day and I had sunk a few hours into a video edit, and I realized the video just wasn't going to work. My wife and I actually ended up in a small disagreement about it, and I felt like I had just wasted a bunch of time. So I made an attempt to make up for this lost time, and I just hastily tried to move on. So this circumstance alone was pretty insignificant and something I would typically get past with seamless optimism, but I don't know, for some reason this situation kind of sent me spiraling down like this dark hole. What am I even doing with my life? Is all this pointless? Why do I feel like I have no direction? These were some of the questions that definitely entered my head, almost like an intruder trespassing on private property. For a moment, I felt like I had lost control over my own thoughts. I could sense this dark cloud developing in the atmosphere in my mind. Externally, though, I seemed a little more quiet, nothing to perceive as terribly wrong with me, like at all. Allie, my wife, she had definitely noticed my mood shift later that evening and asked if I was okay, but I brushed it off. I said I was fine, but I stayed pretty secluded. Honestly, I wasn't quite sure why I couldn't open up and talk to her about what I was thinking. Frankly, she had done nothing wrong and I wasn't even mad at her. I sat in bed that night and my mood stayed pretty cloudy and gray. My thoughts droned on, more negative thoughts that had me wondering what I was even doing with my life and if any of it even mattered. Drama, I know. But weirdly, I felt sad. I just figured I'd sleep this off, I'd sleep off these feelings, and by tomorrow I'll be back to my normal self. Well, I awoke the next day feeling a bit worse, but not in a way you would think. The negative thoughts had slightly subsided, and now I simply felt nothing, like pure apathy. I kept picturing like a digital battery charge icon at like 0%. Obviously, it was just very representative of my internal state. In this moment, I had zero motivation to do anything at all. Man, I hardly wanted to even get out of bed, but I reluctantly put my feet on the floor and I started my day. I stayed distracted for most of the early morning. I was looking at my phone, scrolling through social media, wasn't really doing anything productive. Allie and I took the dogs for a walk, but I was still quiet and just feeling pretty cloudy inside. See, the thing is, I had felt this way a few times before, and I knew I needed to snap out of it. I just wanted to shake myself. I've never been one to consider myself depressed, but I have to imagine that this is what it felt like. Literally zero motivation to do anything. The morning crept closer to the afternoon, and I did finally decide I need to do something. So I asked myself, I was like, what can I do right now? What do I have the motivation for? I think something inside me knew that even if I could take one little step towards having a productive day, it would help. So I resolved that I could at least go for a walk. I sold it to myself by deciding I would take a rest day from the strength training, and that actually worked. I grabbed my earbuds and I headed back outside for the second time this morning, and I was definitely hoping this walk would help clear my head. I actually ended up walking for over 4 miles, processing my thoughts and trying to sift through all these feelings. I weirdly felt comfort in the state I was in. It didn't really make any sense, but I continued to walk and think and walk and think some more. I even hypothesized that maybe all of this was my inner self telling me to slow down. Maybe I'm just too isolated. In so many ways, I felt alone. But I literally was alone, on this walk, listening to some very melancholy music. Could it get any more emo than this? Then, right in the middle of my walk, in the middle of my navel gazing and self-examining, I got a phone call. Let me just start out by saying this phone call was pretty random. I almost never talk on the phone. I personally don't like talking on the phone. But this friend of mine called me to discuss something he needed help with, so we chatted. I talked with him for almost 40 minutes, all the while I was still walking around my neighborhood. Little did I know though, this phone call was exactly what I needed. In this deep state of self-examination, talking to my friend slowly brought me back to life and helped snap me out of my disparaging mood. It literally forced me to stop thinking about myself for a few moments and conversely, give something of myself. I got off the phone and soon found myself back at my house. I felt better. Like, damn, I felt a lot better. I could sense the clouds were breaking up and sunlight was starting to poke through. It was a good feeling for sure. Over the course of this 24-hour period or so, I definitely learned a lot about myself and how to overcome situations like this. Now, I have not perfected this at all, but I think that talking to someone is incredibly helpful. Being too isolated is never good for anyone. And a lot of times it can actually lead to a detrimental amount of navel gazing. But the most challenging part of this is knowing that you need to talk to someone about how you're really feeling, but in that moment, everything inside of you wants to do the opposite. You literally want to talk to no one. The motivation to seek help is it's just not there. The tricky thing here though is this is a dangerous state of mind to be in if you stay in it for too long. So this is why it's important that when you're in a good place, you can also be the one to reach out to those closest around you and check in on them. Open up those lines of communication and be okay with being vulnerable. I also think that being aware of when you feel this way and being okay with it for a little bit of time is okay. Maybe your body is trying to tell you something. Maybe you need to rest. Maybe you're overstimulated. You're looking at your phone too much or you're watching too much news. I don't know, whatever it is. But when you feel this way, try to think about what has snapped you out of it in the past. And don't just stay in this place if you can help it. Also, in an apathetic mood with zero motivation, try and ask yourself, what can I do right now? To fully embrace the apathy you feel just isn't a long-term solution. So even if it is something small like going for a walk or journaling or listening to music, do something that makes you feel even a little bit accomplished. I promise this will help. A lot of people might see me here on YouTube and think, dang, Brian has it all figured out. He only has good days. But let me tell you, this is not the case. I struggle with things like anxiety and depression and a lack of self-worth and wondering what I'm doing, but I'm thankful that I'm slowly learning what helps me break through the bad days, and I'm gonna make it a goal to continue to gain a deeper understanding of this. Please know I'm not a psychologist and this story is anecdotal, so take it as such, but there is help out there, I promise. You're not alone.